If you're interested in what I look like in real life and want to learn more about me, then follow my Instagram page at Joe the Insomniac. Hey everyone, I hope you're all having a great day. I really hope you enjoy these stories. My voice has finally went 100% back to normal and I'm so pleased to be back in a normal routine. I'm one of them people that really need structure to function and I'm so glad that I've got it back. With that out of the way, let's get back to the stories. My husband and I are amateur mushroom hunters. 3 seasons out of the year, we spend weekends in forests, along natural trails and rivers looking for edible and interesting wild mushrooms to harvest. Springtime brings the most exciting hunt, which is for the highly coveted morels. We now have a special stretch of shoreline along a river that has a few dozen morels each year. It's difficult to get to as it's off the beaten path. You have to do quite a lot of ducking and climbing and maneuvering to get through. One day, 2 years ago, we're doing just that, making our way slowly, searching carefully for mushrooms hidden in plain sight. We're so preoccupied that we don't realize we're being watched or followed. But at one point, we see a man up ahead of us. He's looking at us and not saying anything or moving. It's almost as though he wants to be noticed. My husband saw him first, who then turns around to look at me, because we never encountered anyone in that spot before. It was besides a small and fairly busy park, but people didn't stray from the paved walk much. There's a weird energy about him. It can be described as menacing. We were near the end of what we wanted to look at. We turned around and started walking our way back. We look behind us for a few moments and realise that he's gone. We wrote it off as just some weirdo, or maybe just a homeless guy whose territory we stumbled into. Now we continued looking over the spots we already covered in case we missed any morels. With me in front and my husband behind me, we're looking back every few paces, as we're feeling more paranoid as we go on. All of a sudden, I look up from the ground at my feet. The man is blocking our path up ahead, maybe 30 feet. We have to go left at the riverbank. We've realised he's crept alongside us on the path, getting ahead of us, now cutting us off. I whip around with huge eyes at my husband, who looks over my shoulder, sees him, starts to move up on the hill to our right hand side, grabbing my hand to pull me with him. Adrenaline shot into me, and we go out of the thick bush onto the paved path, into an open park moments later. Without speaking, we break into a full sprint towards the direction of our car, several blocks away. When we are far enough away from the riverbank to risk a backward glance, we saw the man emerge from the brush. He just stood there watching us, motionless. To this day, it still bothers me, and I wonder what would have happened had I been there alone. So this happened a year ago. I'm a 17-year-old girl. My family, aunts, uncles and cousins, etc. all share this cottage in a nearby campground. We've had it in the family since my mum was a teen, so since I was little, I've been going out there. Since we've been going out there for so long, we know the community well. A lot of strong bonds have formed with the neighbours and nearby campers, because everyone knows each other. This one particular incident, my friend and I, who were about 10 at the time, were out for a long walk. We only ever hung out there where the lake is, so we often went hiking along the same trail to kill time, which passed by a forest in the heart of the community. As we strolled along the path, we heard a light tune coming from the forest to our left. Our head snapped in the direction of the sound, and it stops. We shrug it off as we're 10 and don't get freaked out easily. We continue walking as the path turned, and our backs are now to where we started, but can hear the sound again. Once we're walking, we turn to where the sound's coming from, and once again, it stops. Now I don't know why we continued walking away, but we did. The forest was now a ways behind us when it starts up again. This time, I turned towards a mysterious song and started walking. The flute didn't stop playing, but instead got faster. I slowed my steps and realized the speed of the song, and it stops once again. The second we start walking away from the flutist, it bounces back into action and I start running to the tree line. The song ended when I was a few meters away, and the silence that followed was deafening. The girl I'm with took off running towards the main road and I followed. Now it could have been nothing, but for some reason, we didn't tell anyone about what happened. Nothing like that ever happened again, but freaks me out thinking about it. Someone who we knew went missing that day. A person in our small community. Where? Who knows? I guess we'll never know what happened if we had actually crossed that tree line that day. It all started when a buddy of mine that I go to college with, Matt, and I decided to skip a day of class and take a weekend trip up to Penn, Earl County to get some late fall dirt biking in before it snowed and the season's over. We'd gotten some riding done in that area before, but instead of going to our usual romping grounds, we opted to shoot for a lesser known trail that a friend had told us about. So early Tuesday morning, we loaded up our bikes into our truck, printed out a map of the area that showed all the logging trails and a few official dirt bike trails in the area, and head out. Traffic was really light, so we arrive at the spot we're planning to. It only takes about 1.5 hours to get there. We have lots of daylight to go out and ride in. We both have headlights on our bikes, and have agreed that a little bit of darkness won't stop our fun. After we unload, we lock up the truck, rode down the highway on the shoulder for about half a mile, then turned onto the logging roads with this awesome split off. It's a 10-ish mile ride down the logging trail to get to the trailhead, and we're probably a little over halfway there when, from behind us, we hear a loud engine. The speedster of a truck flies past us, nearly hitting Matt, then disappearing around the next turn, just as quick as he appears. It's not like Matt and I were going slow. We aren't pro riders or anything, but definitely not bad. The last time I checked, my tack were doing 40, which is pretty quick for a crappy abandoned loggers road in the forest. After this, Matt had stopped on the side killing his engine so he could make sure he knew how annoyed he was. "Did you see that? Yeah, he almost killed me," we said, etc. We decided that, while we were already stopped, we would take a quick break, drink some water, then get back on. And get back on we did. We found the trailhead and were loving it. The views were nice. The trail was technical without being unfun. The ground was wet and not soggy, and there were tons of additional trails that had been marked out by riders. Eventually we came across 2 separate offshoot trails, and we're going up the hill. We're racing one another to the top. We then read a sign marked "Ends at such and such creek," signs that are made from plywood and spray paint propped against trees. After consulting the map, we concluded that they probably did. One trail went over the hill, and the other more or less wound down into a small valley and around. I wanted to go low. Matt wanted to go higher, so we split up. My ride was nice for the most part, though it did become very gravelly and steep at times, and I reached the bottom of the little valley. And as soon as I could see an open clearing at the end of the tunnel of trees I was in, and as I rode up, I could hear what I thought to be Matt's engine. When I pulled off to the trees into the clearing by the creek, I saw that it wasn't a dirt bike I'd been hearing, but a gas-powered generator. This was powering what looked like an old stove that sat under the overhang of a windowless shack made out of pliers and 2x4s. Next to the makeshift house thing was a truck that I had seen earlier. I killed my engine, not wanting whoever's inside to hear me, and moved in a bit closer. I didn't get too close, but even from where I stood, probably 50 yards or more away, I could smell something. I could see that there was a big soup pot stove which was boiling, and I can only presume it's holding bleach. Judging by the containers that were strewn about the place. Now that's when I saw a guy coming running from behind the shack with a shotgun, looking at the woods near the other side of the clearing, screaming, "What do you think you're doing?" At that moment, I heard Matt's bike roar to life and immediately saw him tearing out of the tree line behind the shack. He saw me, and he rode towards me at full tilt. I hear him screaming at the top of his lungs, "Go, get out of there, he's got a gun." Luckily my bike starts on the first kick and I'm able to spin around and tear out of there, the way that I'd come on Matt's towel. I don't think I've ever gone so fast through the trails in my life, but somehow we made it out without either of us going down. We got back to the truck in little under an hour, and immediately noticed that ours was no longer the only one in the parking lot. The goddamn piece of pickup junk was there and beating us. He must have had a shortcut, the driver staring at us. Hoping that he won't approach us as we right off a decently populated highway, we quickly load up and leave. But he follows, and it was more than an hour before we were able to even lose him. The local police are called, but they pretty much told us that they can't look into it because they wouldn't have time to. Needless to say, we never went right in there again. I'm a 25-year-old female and have been living in Tokyo for 7 years. Never once had I felt threatened until this day. The city is incredibly safe, making you forget about stranger danger, which I know is unimaginable if you live in most big cities. Now it happened a year ago. I went to see an orchestra with my friend which finishes at around 10:30. She goes home and it's a beautiful night, so I decided that I was gonna go for a walk around this area of the city. It's a part that I never normally go to, Tokyo Station. Now on a semi-empty street, this 40-year-old man, dressed like a salaryman, stops, asks me how to get the subway. Now it's a bit odd, but whatever. I pull out Google Maps, giving him directions. When I look up, I realised he wasn't listening and staring directly at me with these creepy eyes and a smile. He then said, "Where are you going?" I tell him I'm meeting my boyfriend, which is a lie. He then says if he can walk with me. I firmly say no. I turned around and walk away. Suddenly I hear him cry behind me, "Please, I beg you, please," in English, and he's literally on his knees. I freak out and begin walking away fast. When I look back, he got back to his feet and was walking in the same direction as me. Now I know I should have been more freaked out, but it does happen that random Japanese guys ask to walk and talk with me. I'm mixed Asian but look more foreign. They give up after I firmly show I don't want them there, usually harmless. I get to the busy train station, which is basically thousands of people, like fish schooling. I move in random directions for 20 minutes to lose him. By that time, I'm pretty certain he couldn't have followed me in the crowd. I relax and stupidly go back to my plan of taking a walk by myself at night. I know. I walk through the gardens of the Imperial Palace with a huge park with no lights and no one to be seen at this time of day. I take dark, empty streets. I've forgotten about the creepy guy and just admire my surroundings, the architecture, and enjoy the quietness. I walk for almost an hour. I'm 4 stations away from where I met the creepy guy. It's past midnight, so I catch the last train home. I then go down the stairs to the closest station. I decide to stop and look down at my phone to check how to get home when I feel a tap on my shoulder. It's that creepy guy again, with even more insane eyes and smile. That's when dumb me finally realised psychos followed me through a crowd of people, a dark park, and a small empty street for over an hour. I start yelling my lungs out and making threatening gestures to get him away from me, and I run to the gates where there's more people. He then runs for one to catch me. I pretend to go down the stairs to the platform, and then quickly behind a column. I see him run past me, frantically searching for me with his crazy eyes, but he doesn't look back. He doesn't see me. I run back up the stairs and get a different train. I call my boyfriend, who met me halfway up home. This went over the course of a year, with the last incident taking place in December of 2016. I used to own this green 1998 Toyota Camry. It was my grandmother's until she gifted it to my parents, who eventually gave it to me as my first car. It was nice and reliable, but I had a bad habit of letting my cars accumulate a bunch of stuff before cleaning them out. Because I still lived with my mum and dad, they would use the car from time to time if needed. One day, I noticed a bunch of fishing lines with hooks on them in the back of my car. On the rare occasions I cleaned it out. Now we lived in a forest, so it was normal to see people going fishing in the nearby lakes, but why on my car? A bunch of hooks are embedded into the upholstery, and more are between the creases in the seat. It takes me forever to get them all out. I almost pricked myself several times doing it. I have no idea how long they're up there, and the last time I cleaned out my car was months ago. At any rate, I'm annoyed. At first, I thought my dad had put them there, as he had recently used my car for a garage sale. I asked him about it, but he told me he's never seen any fishing hooks or lines in any of the old stuff. And nobody in the family even fishes, so it wouldn't make any sense for us to have used it. He's also the only other person that has used my car at all in the last 2 years. I'm the kind of person who looks up everything every night. I triple check my doors, and I'm even a little uncertain as to whether or not to lock up when I go back to my car and check, no matter the inconvenience. I also park it where I can see it from my bedroom window and hear if anyone tampers with it, so I doubted anyone could have broken in, and I assumed my dad's missed it, and didn't think anything of it until a month later when I found even more fish hooks in my back seat. At this point, I asked my dad about it again, but he figures I'm either pulling a weird prank on him or someone's breaking into my car. I wonder though why anyone would break into my car, not steal anything out of it, and leave fishing hooks instead. It doesn't make sense to me. To give you an idea of how weird this is, I live in a neighbourhood where everyone knows each other. We all talk and even have a private Facebook group that started due to a drug house at the end of the street cropping up. As sort of a neighbourhood watch group that always posts whenever something suspicious happens, so I don't have any neighbours for miles, and the ones I do know are not shady. Again, without any explanation or clear motive, as the days and weeks pass, it fades to the back of my head. I get a new job selling mattresses, as I've been unemployed focusing on school for a while and move out of my mum and dad's home to live with my girlfriend. This is when things turn from weird to extremely unsettling. One night, we decide to go to a nearby Winco to get something to make food with, and I notice my back seat has a bunch of fishing lines and hooks in it again. Startled, I look around for any sign of someone being nearby. I tell her to get back in the home, and I sit up and stare at my car until morning comes from our bedroom window. Now, after triple checking every door and window to ensure they're all locked up, I don't see anyone or anything. I get ready for work, and she gets ready for college courses, and we leave. The store I was working at during this time had a weird L-shaped design to it, with 2 different entrances and a calf taking up space between them. There was one entrance that was easily visible from the front desk, and another that you'd have to get up to see. As I was closing up for the night after the last incident, I go to turn off the open signs, and see in the centre of the obstructed hallway an entire row of fishing line coiled up, but with some of the line leading to the door, where a pile of hooks sat. I had no customers this day, and never heard the alarm go off. Then I noticed someone had turned the door alarm off, but neither I nor my colleagues had actually ever tampered with the device before then, and it was behind the front desk. I was shaken. Someone had been stalking me and leaving these lines, but I had no idea what to do. Call the cops? Other than the fishing lines and hooks, there really was no trace to anyone. My store had no cameras, and corporate would never agree to installing them. Neither my family nor girlfriend could afford security cameras either. I figured the best I can do is not appear as frightened as I am, in case whoever was doing this to me was watching me. I thought that if I see something like this, I shouldn't have to go about my day differently from any other, or it's suspicious. Now, for several months, I would always find fishing lines and hooks in my car, despite it being locked, and my parents being too busy with their extra jobs, taking time to actually look at the car. Now, once or twice a day, I would leave notes in my car asking whoever it was, why are they doing this, and to stop. I would find the notes were gone whenever the lines and hooks appeared, but with no response. Eventually, after a series of misunderstandings and disagreements with her family, I decided to move out of my girlfriend's house and moved in with a couple of friends into their apartment until my parents' new house could be completed. The very last time I had an encounter with the lines and hooks, I came home from work to find them strewn about the living room. Stuff is knocked all over the place and there's a few things broken, but nothing was taken. My friend, his girlfriend and their baby are all gone at the time, so no one was home when this happened, save for his cats who are absolutely spooked and wouldn't come out from under his bed for hours. I still didn't know what this person wants or wanted. Why are they stalking me in the first place? What do the fishing lines and hooks mean? No one I know is actually huge into fishing, and I specifically go out of my way to not make enemies or cross people, even purposefully giving people more than I take from them so I don't feel that I'm lining myself up to get done over. I really don't know if it was someone that I knew or a complete stranger freaking me out. All I know is that I'm gonna have anxiety for the rest of my life. I routinely stay up till 4 or 5 in the morning because of the traumatizing events. This has truly touched me in a bad way. Now it's been about 9 months since I've seen or heard from this person, but instead of feeling better, I feel more uneasy that someone followed me through that many changes in my life and didn't do anything further than breaking into my work and friend's house, but that at any time could have easily done anything to me or set up a trap or God knows what.